Welcome back, Portugal Junkies.
Hello.
What's up? We are so excited to have you back. This is our 10th episode.
Well, congratulations.
It just hit me.
We're
having a little cheers.
So we've brought back the wine appreciation.
I love how you say appreciation. Appreciation.
Okay, I'm going to take the wine off.
I have not had one sip yet, I promise. Appreciation is how you said.
Yep. In recognition of celebrating the 2000th listen?
We had over 2,000 listens total of Portugal Junkies podcast since we launched.
Well,
not very long ago.
I think that's a celebration in itself.
It is a celebration. So we did bring back our happy hour / record a podcast /
Neck a
drink
bottle
some
of wine.
So talk about this wine, babe. You got it tonight at the store across the street.
I got it from the store, and it's a Dow.
Dow is
red.
a region here.
Yep, it's a red. It's Fuga.
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 Be careful how you
Fuga.
pronounce that later on.
Well, it won't be hard to remember. And how much did you pay for this, honey?
Well, it was on at $17.99.
I just almost did.
But then it had a 50% discount. So it was like $8.99, including tax. So we wanted to celebrate and push the boat out. So we pushed the boat out at €9.
When he left to go get the bottle, I was like, get something a little nicer. We're celebrating tonight. And he came back and said, it was $17.99. And I was like, who do you think we are? And he was like, but it was 50% off. It was great.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Definitely an advantage to get all the loyalty membership cards you possibly can for all the stores.
Should we tell the story about the Harris Teeter card? That is my favorite. That's one of my favorite stories of our beginning. I'm going to take a minute and do it because people want to hear the story. Come on.
Okay.
Story time. And then we'll get into the good stuff. When I met this man, he didn't have a Facebook account. Oh, no, he had a Facebook account and it said he went to school at 100 of Who, which I thought, okay, well, he's just full of jokes. Like, this is just a fake account or something. And he, but anyway, he actually went to a school called 100 of Who. Doesn't that sound like a Harry Potter school?
It was Who St. Werburg.
Oh my God. I can't believe you have schools that sound like that. Anyway,
It's not
I was giving you that example because he had just moved to the U.S. We were going out on like second date maybe to Thai Orchid in Charlotte.
Yeah.
And he, over beers, pulled out his Harris Teeter like customer care card or whatever, the loyalty card. For those of you who are not in the South or don't know what Harris Teeter is in America, it's one of the bigger grocery stores. This man was thrilled to show me that he had gotten his Harris Teeter card. Like, this was what we talked about on our second date. Like, he's pretty adorable though. It was in an English accent, so it was fun.
Yes. When I got that, I felt like I had arrived.
You had arrived. Awesome. Okay, so let's get. So this is what we were going to talk about today.
Yes.
I feel like every time we start thinking about podcast topics, we are constantly thinking, what is someone out there really, really interested and hopeful to learn if they are considering moving abroad and if they're considering moving to Portugal? So we're still really trying to be focused on that. And the number one thing that I kept thinking of this week was, where do I land? Like, if you've decided that you want to move and you've even decided that Portugal is the place that you want to start researching to move to, where the heck do we end up? Like, how do you even start in a country that you might not be as familiar with?
Yeah.
Like, to figure out where's your place?
Yeah.
And so we thought we would give kind of our top criteria or top things that we thought about.
Yeah.
So we landed in Porto.
Yeah.
This is
I think it's also important just to say that we had a scout first. And that's kind of what allowed us to decide. It wasn't just from like throwing a dart at a map.
Yes, and if you can go scout, obviously, I'm going to say go visit the place for reasons that I'll talk about in a minute.
And many others. But
I do believe that you do need to scout, and but you have to do the research first in order to know where you want to go and visit and check out. Recon, we call it recon when we did it. It's a recon mission.
Or it's a recce.
Or a recce. Anyway, so we live in Porto. We have been here for 8 months now. This is the
Where did
place
the time
where
go?
we land. I can't believe it. Where we
Crazy.
landed and we chose, and we're going to kind of walk through all the reasons why we chose it as we go through this stuff today with you. But Porto is in the north of Portugal, and I would say there's kind of three regions of the country.
North, Central, and Algarve.
Yeah, and like,
South.
so Central would be Lisbon, biggest city, right? Porto is the second biggest city, but it's in the northern part of the country.
Yeah.
And then you've got the world-renowned Algarve coastal region that is like retiree heaven for many people.
It's where you want. It's where you
Beach
go if you
life,
love golf.
Mediterranean type stuff, right? It's like the ideal place for retirees and probably the most popular area for retirees in the country. That being said, those three regions are completely different, wouldn't you say?
Massively different.
Like in our experience so far, for sure. They're completely different and for all different reasons. So I just wanted to kind of lay the groundwork there of like the country, and because we're going to probably reference it as we go through some of these things. So what do you think is the number one thing about choosing a place, or at least researching places that might be the right stop?
Yeah, I think it really comes down to affordability. You know,
Yes.
can you afford to live in the place where you want to live? And that's not just, you know, can you afford a pint of milk or some bread or whatever. This is definitely much more about...
it's a big part of your budget.
Yeah, it's probably, for most people at least, the biggest section of a budget.
Yeah, so cost of living,
cost of living.
100%. Like, and this could be positive and negative, right? This could be you're trying to move to a more cost-effective place, or you're trying to find your dream place here in Portugal, right? And so maybe you have more money to spend on the next place that you go to.
Yeah.
So it's all relative, cost of living and affordability. I keep saying this to people because they ask me, like, is it really as affordable? And I'm like,
Well, that's all,
to you, to me, to him, to her, I have, you know, it's all...
It's very subjective. It's
so subjective.
It's a very individual decision.
Yes, but we used one website. You actually found it.
Numbeo.
Yeah, so www.numbeo, numbeo.com.
Yep.
So this website's crazy good. It allows you to choose your actual city that you're in right now, and choose the future city that you are interested in. And it will give you very detailed, like itemized comparison of cost of things.
I mean,
so
that will really tell you the
cost of bread.
The cost of bread or the cost of a pint of milk.
Or beer.
And
or
an
wine.
apartment and all sorts of things.
Utilities,
it's
cell phone,
it's very, very
a pair of jeans. It's really cool. It's kind of addictive to go in there and like choose places. So obviously we chose Charlotte and we chose Porto, and we started to see the differences there for us and started weighing that against.
I think when we very first started looking at it, it was like something about 52% cheaper.
Better. Yeah.
Than
where
Charlotte,
we were living.
than where we were.
Now
It's just
again,
crazy.
It's an average in Charlotte. It's going to be an average here because there's going to be different
There's
options.
going to be ups and
but
downs of that. Yeah.
I would say most
But
of the
definitely
time in
cost of living.
Numbeo, it's pretty accurate. I think where it's probably you might want to be a little bit wary is the actual rent number.
Yeah.
That can vary so much right now, and I think that you have to go to additional sites like Idealista and other things to really know what's listed right now in the area that you're looking for. So, okay, so number one, cost of living.
Cost of living for sure.
I would say the second one for us was we don't want a car.
Yeah.
We don't want to have to buy a car. We don't want to have to
Park
maintenance
a
a car. We don't want to have to gas up a car. I don't want to have to park a car. You're right. I don't want to have to drive a car. Okay?
Yeah.
That's us. But I think transportation and accessibility overall is probably a big factor of
Why we chose Porto.
and why you guys might want to think about that impact, right? Like if you have your own car, it doesn't matter, right? But if you're choosing not to, which I'm loving, by the way.
That's really nice.
I'm loving not having a car. You need to be in a place, right, that either has other transportation options. Uber is amazing here, at least in Porto.
Yeah.
And it's actually been amazing in Lisbon. It's been amazing in the Algarve. We've been there and used it there. It's been so affordable, but also readily accessible.
Oh yeah, I mean it's
Like-
either Uber or Bolt.
Yes.
Both are just as good as each other.
Yeah.
You pay your money, you take your choices, which one you have. But yeah, transportation, accessibility of an airport as well for us was
True.
important.
Proximity to an airport
Yeah,
is big for
you know,
us.
just getting back to the UK would be real simple. It's a 2-hour-ish flight.
Yeah, maybe.
If I'm lucky. So yeah, transportation was huge. Again, that's going to figure into
how often you're going
how
back home,
you-
or where your people are.
Yeah, but also,
all of it.
you know, whether you have a car or not, whether you want to be in the city or whether you want to be out of rural,
Right.
or things like that. We didn't want to be in rural for a number of different reasons, hence.
Right.
Also-
And I'll be honest with you, there are many, many beautiful little towns all along this coast that we have stumbled upon already. But I'm telling you, I probably couldn't live in those places because there's maybe no train station, or there's something you'd have to, Uber for a longer period, or always take the bus. Bus is not my favorite. Train, I love train. But my point is that consider those things when you're talking about a place to land, because I think that whether or not you have a car is going to impact that
Yeah.
immensely,
Yeah.
I would say.
For definite.
And so Porto we chose because it has an amazing metro.
Yep.
I mean, I freaking love the metro.
I mean, the cost of the metro as well. To go from Porto city centre to the airport is
What is it,
€1.95, €1.95.
And it's like a 30-minute...
It's a 35-minute train journey
Yeah.
on a metro, and it's just the best thing ever.
It really is. They're
It's
super
insane.
clean. They're
Love it.
super nice. They're not often overloaded. It just feels like you can get around in this city
Yeah.
pretty easily through the
Definitely,
metro.
definitely. And even the regular rail, the national rail system.
Yeah.
in
We love the
Portugal.
train.
They're fantastic.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so we've talked about the
Cost of
cost of living, and we've talked about like transportation,
Transport, right.
airport, accessibility, all that other stuff.
yeah, what made Porto the better choice for us for those
Yeah.
two reasons?
The other one was climate. So we were talking about the three kind of regions of Portugal earlier. This is probably one of the biggest differences between North, Central, and South Portugal. In North Portugal, you get cooler, typically cooler temperatures throughout the year. And I'd say the more southern you go, the hotter
And
it
drier.
gets, and drier it gets. There are drought issues in the Algarve.
Water shortages.
But it is, I mean, it's true like Mediterranean beach living down there. Whereas up here, we get a lot of rain. Now, I'm not saying we don't get rain in Lisbon and they don't get rain in the Algarve, but when you compare, like you looked it up the other day.
Yeah, we get a lot up here compared.
And especially in the winter months. And so we've talked about this before, I think, on this podcast, about how when we landed here in December, it literally
it was
rained
pelting down
for...
for 3 months.
I'm not joking. It might not have rained steadily for 3 months,
But you could go
but
for
there were
2
very
weeks
few
where-
beautiful blue sky days
Yeah.
in those 3 months.
Yeah.
So, again, you can read that on paper and they can say,
Sure.
Porto's
But
much
each-
more wet.
Yeah, but each year is going to be different, and
Yes.
you
I think
just-
this year was just
climate,
really bad.
You just can't control.
Yes.
So,
But you should know that
I
ahead.
think you should just be very aware that the north is wetter, the central is,
A little bit less
and
wet.
the south is
More
far
dry.
less wet,
Yeah.
but very hot in the summer
I
months.
feel like the last time I looked it up, it's something like the Algarve gets 300 days of sun
Sunshine.
a year. So, that's pretty amazing.
That's enough.
Yeah. Not many days of rain
No.
down there.
Hence the problems
which
they
is
have.
it's the drought problem
Yeah.
down there.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. What else
do we
would we
have?
say? We wrote down notes. Oh,
Yeah.
lifestyle. It's really a lot of this is about like what kind of life you envision when you are moving here. There's beach life, there's city life, there's, you could live literally in a medieval type village life.
Yeah.
There's there's wine country. it runs the gamut, but I think that you have to be thoughtful about like what you envision your real life to be.
And if you're going to be in one of the medieval city like towns, then make sure that you've either got somebody on hand to come and pick you up, or you've got to go, because probably not going to do too well with an Uber.
Yeah. Probably, and they're not going to be like on a train line typically. But.
Right. So.
But I think that is something to really think about, and I think we'll talk about this in just a minute, a little bit as we move forward. But it's like city life is very different than beach life.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Right. And so, are you looking for the vibrance and the restaurants and the bars and the live music and the like all the things that like a city can give you right outside your doorstep? Or are you looking for more of like a chill existence?
Right.
You know, it really just depends. But I think I think most people will know in their gut immediately what they're kind of looking for with that. But it also allows you to kind of eliminate. So if you're looking for a chill lifestyle, it's not Lisbon, right? It's beautiful, and there are parts of it that are very chill.
I mean, there are. I mean,
but it's a big city.
Get over there.
It's a beautiful big city, and I do love to visit it. But we knew we were not going to live in Lisbon, right? It was never even on our radar. Yeah. And this is not because it's not amazing. It's just too big.
Too big.
And I think that's where Porto kind of came in for us, because I think that we wanted to land in a place where we could really immerse ourselves. I'll be honest with you too. I feel like Porto is much more Portuguese.
It is, definitely.
Like,
there are far more...
The traditions are still here.
Yeah, there are far more Portuguese people Porto born living in Porto than there are Lisbon born living in Lisbon.
Correct.
You know, and that's not just in regular jobs, that's in tourist industry as well.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that it kind of gave us a connection with one of the reasons why we came to Portugal was to immerse in a culture. And that's not to say that you can't do that in Lisbon. You can, absolutely. But for us, it worked better in Porto because the connection with Porto people was that much deeper immediately. And I think that was great.
How many times have we heard it since we've been here that it's like, you won't get the same treatment in Lisbon that you do here with the people of Portugal. Right? And maybe that has been to our benefit, you know, and I know that's a sweeping statement, because I'm sure that there are many lovely people in Lisbon that are from Portugal and from Lisbon, but the majority of it is now going to be people from all over the world. And that might appeal to you, and I think that is lovely. I wanted us to have a true cultural immersion type of experience when we first landed, and I think that we still made that right decision, that Porto was a better choice than Lisbon would have been for that piece of what we were looking for. I think you'll also find, you know, in the Algarve, it's a lot of immigrants and expats from other places. So you go back and forth, right? Like, if you really want to be like just dumped into a different country, different culture, different language, and start swimming, then choose something that is choose something that is more traditional. The place that is more traditional. The Algarve is probably not going to be that place. If you're looking for something where it's going to be a more comfortable landing, where you're probably not going to have much of a language barrier, an easier landing, you may want to choose Lisbon or the Algarve.
And the Algarve has got so many different aspects of it, whether it's a big city nightlife stuff you want, or it's a small
little
fishing
village.
It's, you know, it goes from both ends.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think that we decided on the best place for us within Porto.
Oh yeah, I think so too. I mean, again, I think it was the right place for us to begin this journey of ours, for sure.
Right.
The last thing I would say, and this is not that we can add much to this because we're not parents of kiddos.
Right.
But we understand that a lot of you listening are going to be like, well, how do I, you know, like my kids are the center of my world, and I need to make sure that the schools, you know, all of that plays into that. I would say,
do your research.
Yeah, you have to do your research. I would reach out to other Facebook groups that are out there, probably aimed more toward parents, and ask. Because I think once you whittle down to a couple of different options, then you can make those decisions.
And I think also, if you're moving with kids in mind, that's also going to, maybe not largely, but definitely have an impact on where you're going to be. You know, are you going to be in the city centre of Porto, or are you going to be on the outskirts because school is closer and traffic is a nightmare and all those things. So, not that we have any first-hand experience of that, other than what we hear and see on different sort of Facebook and forums and such like. So it's definitely something to consider. Top tip.
Top tip.
But then we have our reality check.
Oh, you want to talk for real now?
Let's talk for real.
Here's the reality check for all of this. We chose Porto.
We did.
We've been here for 8 months.
We have.
It met all of these criteria that we've talked about.
Absolutely.
Oh, we didn't even talk about the whole connection thing, which is my hippy-dippy lovey self, the big one. Which is, when you go and visit a place, I really do believe, you will feel a connection to it or you won't. I'll give a good example.
Right.
Viana de Castelo. We went and took a day trip the other day.
Yeah, I mean, I'd already been up there.
Yes. He had been up there for his AMA appointment. Regardless, like, I was at another place on the same day for my AMA appointment, and it was not as fun as his.
No.
But he was like, we have to go back. You'll love it. Yeah, I loved it. I mean, like, within an hour, I was looking at him and going,
maybe.
Could we live here? Because it's not something that you can put your finger on. To me, I feel like certain places just
shout at you.
Yeah. If you're willing to listen.
I mean, certain places either shout at you, go away, or come here.
Come hither.
I was going to say that, but then I thought you'd take the mick out of me.
Yeah, I just did. Okay, so I'm sorry to get us off track,
anyway.
But this was another big one. I feel like in terms of criteria, I am a true believer that, like, you have to go with your gut on certain things like this. When you're making, like, life choices, it can't all be paper and real, you know, like black and white. This is very much him, and I'm the opposite, which is like, what does something make me feel? And I do believe that you can't discount what a place makes you feel. Right. It has to be a good combination of all those things. But go back to the reality check.
Yeah, let's do that.
What's the reality check, babe?
We're looking to move.
Yeah, we're moving.
We're gonna move.
We're gonna leave Porto.
Yeah.
Soon.
Ish. September, October, something of that nature.
Probably
is the expectation, and there's really just a few reasons that are high up on the reason why. You know.
What would that be?
Well,
what's the number one reason?
I think. Well, it's either for you or for me.
For you.
For me, I love the city, but I love more space. You know, I love being able to just walk out into nature, and you can do that here, but it's not. It's sort of a.
You have to make more
it's like
effort
a city
to do
park
it.
of nature, and it's amazing. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful.
Oh, there's plenty of them.
And there's plenty of them. But you've got to really sort of either get from our point of view, you've got to get an Uber or the metro a little bit further outside of the city centre.
Yeah.
And, you know, sure, we can walk down to the river. It takes us 10 minutes to walk down there, and it's an amazing, beautiful riverside.
It's stunning.
And that is nature, but it's also not the nature that I now want. Yeah. Back then, it was, and I will happily come back and visit here any time of the day. But yeah, I think having been in the city, I think I've had my city life experience.
Yes. And for me,
it's been fantastic.
For me, I agree with all of that.
By the time it comes around, it will almost be a year.
Yeah. And here's the thing for me. We are moving. And by the way, we haven't really solidified where we're going. That'll be a future episode, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
But we know that we're probably going to go. Because for city life, we both feel that way. Where it's like, our first few months here, we were in the second largest city in Portugal. Mm-hmm. And we got to experience every Portuguese food, every Portuguese wine, all the beautiful people, like learning the language more than we probably would have ever in Lisbon. We still have a long way to go on that. But it's still city life. And I find myself wanting an even slower pace. Mm. And that's okay. Like, that's how the way I feel about it is, like, you can only, if you're moving over here, you can only do what you know in the moment, right? And you really have to kind of adopt a little bit of a nomadic lifestyle, in my opinion, unless you absolutely fall in love with the place and you buy an apartment or you buy a house and you know that this is your retirement place. Yep. And you're so super happy. Yep. I love that for you. For us, we had to look at this like it's very different from our prior life, which mm-hmm. is we built a house, we lived there together for 5 years. It's very stable. This is more of like, where are we going next? Yeah. Because this is adventure for us. It will not be the same for all of you. So we're just kind of giving our perspective on this, but we are taking more of a nomadic approach where for the next few months, we may go spend that time in the Algarve. Yep. Right? And then in May, maybe we go to Viana de Castelo because we fell in love with it so much.
And I think as well, you know, one of the reasons it is all about the city. And that experience has been absolutely fantastic. And, you know, I've loved every minute of it.
I really have too. Except for the rain.
Except for the rain. And that kind of brings around another reason of a reality of being in the northern part of Portugal. You have to be okay with rain. And as you can probably tell, I'm from England. We're okay with rain. We have quite a lot of it. But even for me, it was just getting a little bit tiresome at the end.
It was hard.
And it was tough because, you know, we've got a dog, take her out 2 times a day, but first apartment, 63 steps, no lift.
It was bad.
You know, that's 63 one way.
So bad. It was a challenge. It was a challenge mentally too. So he says city life is the number one reason. I say my number one reason is that I do not think that I can make it through another winter up here.
Season. Yeah.
With that much rain that we experienced last season. Mm-hmm. And again, people told us over and over that it's more wet in the winter up here, and I get that. But to experience it like it was last winter was unbelievably challenging for me. Yeah. It just really caused me some mental
I don't think you've ever experienced anything quite
like
it.
Not for that long
period of time. Yeah.
And it really I didn't know how much it would emotionally affect me. And I'm going to protect myself from that, right? Like, it just is what it is. Like, if you've experienced something that it doesn't work for you, then in this world of this adventure that we're having, why would we do it again?
We have an opportunity to
go somewhere else. So that's what we're going to do.
So that's what we're going to do. So this has been a fantastic landing zone.
I can't talk enough about how magical Porto is. Yeah. It's like I want to give it this like homage. Like I don't know how to describe it other than that. There's an energy about this place. Yeah. The minute that you come across that bridge or you see the river, you're like, where is this? Yeah. Where am I? Yeah. Because it is just so breathtakingly gorgeous. But it's not just about that piece. It's about, to me, I swear, and I have talked about it over and over and over again, but the people here have literally crept up into my heart. Like, they have a pride about them, about this place, and well-deserved. Yeah. Because if you're from Porto, if I meet someone who is from Porto, they rave about their city. Yeah. And they deserve to, because it is absolutely gorgeous. Stunning. And if it was a little bit farther south,
It would
probably
be
would
all
never
good.
leave. I probably would never leave.
No, probably not.
But
it is, so we are.
So hopefully that's helped you a little bit, right? Think about our criteria. Think about like what we've talked about and, you know, how we chose Porto. But also that it's not a guarantee that it's your permanent place. And you know what I say? Be okay with that.
I think if you've got the opportunity to be okay with that, i.e. you know, you're not taking kids in and out of school and changing all of that up and things.
It's a different
it's a different experience.
Yeah,
different.
But kids are also resilient.
Yeah. Well, they are for sure, because I spent all of my kid life growing up going through, I don't know how many schools now.
He's the social butterfly he is because of it.
I was like 12 or something schools.
Meanwhile, would anybody guess that I'm an introvert? Because I am.
She is. She's like a hermit.
It's true.
Stays at home.
Like this kind of activity, and then I have to go take a nap. Anyway.
Seriously.
Did you just get that on your white shirt? Oh my god. Anyway, this
survived
has been.
It as well.
I really hope this has been helpful. You know, we will continue to try to bring you content that will help you make decisions for yourself.
Yeah, and ask us questions that you
want.
I've
loved it. By the way, I've gotten some questions. So please, again, we're going to put out the call, right?
Yeah.
Instagram, TikTok message, email, portugaljunkies@gmail.com, whatever it is that, however you're connected with us, on YouTube, make a comment, whatever you want to do to get us some topics that you think are valuable, that you want to know more about, ideas, questions that you have, bring it on, because we want to make sure it's valuable and that we're not just doing this to kind of document our life together, but it is fun.
It is doing that. But I also think, you know, when we sat down back in Charlotte and we said we're going to do this adventure, and one of the things we're going to do is a podcast and blah blah blah. You know, it's going to allow us to have a diary of us and our adventure, but also
help other people
and throw out things that we were missing when we were researching, because, you know, yes, there are others, you know, other options out there to get your resource from, and that's absolutely,
you should
check
use
them out. Absolutely, go use everything you can possibly find. We did, but I think that, you know, coming onto a podcast with a glass of wine, and
just
chit chatting, and sometimes going off on a tangent, it's not overly scripted, and I love that.
Oh, it's not scripted. We have some ideas of where we want to go, but we want to be real. This week on the socials, I got accused of not being for real about this place, which I had to process for a hot minute before I came back and said thank you for your opinion. But
jog on.
Here's the thing. There's going to be people who move over here and it's not the experience that they anticipated.
Yeah.
I want to try to make sure that we're certainly not making it rainbows and butterflies and rose-colored glasses. It's been challenging. I think we've done a good job of that.
We've said all the way along that we're going to be truthful and open.
And if people email me and ask me, should I move abroad?
Don't know, should you?
I don't know. There's a lot more conversation to be had.
Your choice.
We're just trying to share our experience and help others who are interested in doing the same for whatever reasons you have, and help you decide whether moving abroad is for you and if Portugal is for you.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm biased because our experience has been lovely here. Mm-hmm. But I know that it's not perfect. And I want to make sure that we keep reiterating those things that are not perfect, because I certainly don't want to come across as like we're trying to sell you on moving. I want to help people who are interested in this process more than anything else, you know, and if you listen to us and go, that's just not for me, then that's great. Right. We hope you still listen and join us.
I do think, though, that from one final thing is that if what you're going to do is move, just make sure from a housing perspective you get the vast majority of what you want in the place where you want, because switching it around like we have, because we cocked up the first time, and now by choice we're changing again. But that wasn't because we did this like Porto wrong. It's because the first apartment wasn't quite what we should have.
Yeah,
that's
a good podcast to begin with. I mean, we've talked about our first apartment in another podcast if you haven't listened, but I do think that maybe we should do a similar episode that's talking about what are the criteria that we would consider in a new place. We can document it when we start to move.
Yeah.
How about that?
I mean,
we can think about like.
I'll be the first to criticize myself as a realtor, and we mucked it up. So there's every chance that everybody. There's
things that maybe you're not thinking of.
Has an opportunity to learn from.
Yeah.
And so, But ultimately, we've enjoyed Porto, we've enjoyed the city.
Oh, I've loved it.
And time for less rain.
It will literally always have a piece of my heart. In fact, I'm going to get a tattoo for it.
Right.
That'll be another episode. But I already have tattoo plans. Which, thinking about something that's like a permanent part of your body had to have made an impact on you.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
Anyway, there we are. There you have it.
There you have it. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for your support.
Yeah.
Please share, tag, follow, subscribe, rate us. We'd love to have feedback. But we are celebrating over 2,000 listens so far.
Which is crazy bonkers.
We're just so thankful.
That people want to listen to what we've got to say.
My favorite thing is when a complete stranger reaches out and is like, I'm binging your podcast right now. And I'm like, oh my God, you're my bestie.
Yeah.
I love this.
It's crazy.
I love it.
It's crazy.
I'm loving this whole process because I feel like, A, it gives us purpose, but B, it's like therapy for me.
Yeah, for both of us.
That's true.
But definitely for you.
Awesome. Thank you. Cheers, you guys.
Cheers to everybody.
We will see you next episode.
Absolutely. Take care.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Listen up, future expats. For more content about our move, the visa process, Portuguese culture and destinations, and tons of support resources for your own decisions and potential move abroad, follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Portugal Junkies.
Stay in touch and help us reach more people by subscribing here and following us there.
Cheers, y'all!